In a small village in South Africa, Nelson Mandela was born with magical abilities. As a child, he loved to explore, wandering through hills and forests. He learned wisdom and justice from his parents and felt the injustices of apartheid laws as if they were heavy chains on his heart. Grandfather, why does our people suffer? Nelson would ask. Nelson, injustice is the enemy of freedom. But with your brave heart, you can be a light in this darkness, his grandfather would reply. One day, Nelson received a mysterious message from a secret society of freedom fighters. They invited him to join them in ending apartheid. He bid farewell to his family and friends and set off on a journey to join the resistance. Upon reaching the resistance camp, Nelson trained with the warriors, learning martial arts and using his magical abilities to communicate with animals. A scene unfolds where Nelson leads an epic attack against the forces of darkness. In 1961, following the Sharpeville massacre and increased government repression, Nelson Mandela decided that peaceful protests alone would not bring about change. In a dark night, he met with a group of brave warriors in a secret cave. The atmosphere was charged with tension and excitement. Nelson, the time has come to take up arms against injustice. We will form a secret army, Spear of the Nation, to fight for our freedom. Warriors, we are with you, Nelson. We will fight to the end. Scene 2. Training and preparation. Nelson and his comrades started training in combat and planning military operations. They met secretly in remote places to avoid detection by the authorities. They learned how to use weapons and explosives and studied guerrilla warfare strategies. Scene. Nelson leads the warriors training in a dense forest. The scene shows swift combat movements and strenuous drills. Nelson, we must be prepared for anything. Our strength lies in our unity and determination. Scene 3. Initial operations. Spear of the Nation started conducting sabotage operations against government infrastructure. These operations aimed to weaken the apartheid regime without harming civilians. The attacks targeted power stations, railways, and government buildings. Scene. Nelson and his comrades stealthily infiltrate a power station at night. They use their skills in stealth and planning to place explosives and destroy the station. The scene is filled with tension and excitement as they evade guards and escape before the explosion. Scene 4. Challenges and risks. The journey was not easy. The authorities relentlessly pursued Nelson and his comrades. They lived in constant fear of arrest or death. But Nelson always encouraged them to continue, believing that the struggle for freedom was worth every sacrifice. Dialogue. Comrade. Nelson, we are in constant danger. Is it worth all this? Nelson. Yes, freedom is worth every sacrifice. We are fighting for a better future for our children and generations to come. Scene 5. Nelson's arrest. In 1962, Nelson Mandela was arrested and sentenced to 5 years in prison. But this did not stop the struggle. Spear of the Nation continued their operations, and Nelson became a symbol of resistance and resilience. Scene. Nelson is captured by the authorities. The scene shows Nelson's bravery as he faces the soldiers with a calm smile, believing that the struggle will continue even in his absence. Nelson, even if I am in prison, my spirit is free. The struggle will go on until we achieve justice. In 1962, Nelson Mandela was arrested and sentenced to 5 years in prison for illegally leaving the country and inciting a strike. The following year, he was charged along with other leaders of the African National Congress with sabotage and given a life sentence on Robben Island. The first anime scene begins with Mandela being escorted to his cell on Robben Island. Shadows are used to highlight his psychological state. Mandela is shown contemplating in his cell, with dim lighting casting a glow on his face. Despite the harsh conditions, Mandela did not lose hope. He believed that freedom was not just a physical state, but a mental and spiritual one. Mandela began communicating with his fellow prisoners, encouraging them to persevere and endure. The second anime scene shows Mandela speaking to his fellow inmates, with anime effects used to highlight the transformation in their facial expressions from despair to hope. Soft music can be added to enhance the emotional atmosphere. One day, as Mandela reflected on his memories, he remembered the wise words of his grandfather. Forgiveness is true strength. It's a weapon that no one can take away from you. These words resonated in his mind, and he realized that forgiveness was not weakness, but a strength. The third anime scene shows Mandela reflecting in his cell, with flashback effects used to show his grandfather speaking to him in a vibrant and colorful scene. Over the years, Mandela began interacting with his jailers in a different way. Instead of hatred and hostility, he began to show them forgiveness and respect. He knew that this was the only way to break the cycle of violence and hatred. The jailers started to notice this change in his behavior and began to treat him with greater humanity. The fourth anime scene shows Mandela speaking with one of the jailers, with anime effects used to highlight the change in the jailer's facial expressions from cruelty to empathy. Soft music can be added to enhance the emotional atmosphere. In the end, after 27 years of imprisonment, Mandela was released on February 11, 1990. He returned to his people as a symbol of forgiveness and perseverance. He became South Africa's first black president in 1994, leading the country toward national reconciliation and peace.